Hello, everybody. It is NFL Points, Picks, and Props. Thank you so much for joining us. I am Kyle Garlett in Denver, Colorado. Joining me over this shoulder, Tommy Birch in Massachusetts. Over this shoulder, it is Ben O'Connell in Chicago, Illinois. We are ready for championship weekend. 4 teams remain. Only 3 games left in the NFL season. 282 games have already been played to get us to this point, guys. 3 left. We just had 4 pretty good games. Well, not so much for the Giants, but the other 3 games were all pretty good. Well, maybe not so much for the Bills either. But we had we'll go through actually as we get started here. Let's just go through those 4 games, and we'll talk about how we did with our picks. We'll talk about the games, and we'll talk about what is next for the losing team. We're going to go ahead and start off. The first game of that weekend was the early game on Saturday. The Cincinnati. Sorry, I need a Red Bull there, Ben. Yikes. Can I borrow yours? So the Jaguars at the Chiefs. Chiefs were 8.5-point favorites. Ben did not believe that the Chiefs would cover that spread. Tommy and I were more optimistic, and it turned out Ben was the correct one. We were looking good, and then with about 40 seconds to go, the Jags kicked a field goal to cover the spread. Obviously, Doug Peterson had some money on Jacksonville. So Ben, you pulled that win out there by the skin of your teeth there at the end.
As I said in our group chat, shout out to Doug looking out for the homies. What can I say?
Yeah, well, and it did that to his old coach Andy Reid too. Very disappointing. Our props for that game. Well, we had Trevor Lawrence. Tommy, you were all over a good day from Trevor Lawrence. Isaiah Pacheco as well. Ben had Kelsey scoring a touchdown, Chiefs winning. I had a big game from Patrick and Jerick McKinnon, and only Ben, just as he did with the game pick, only Ben won his prop. Travis Kelsey got 2 touchdowns on the day. So again, props to you. Props for your prop bet and your game pick there. You were all fire.
I had a good weekend. I'm not going to lie. I had a good weekend.
Tommy, you weren't. I mean, the game got weird because of the Mahomes injury, and I think that prevented it from being the shootout that many of us saw, or we're expecting to see, and that kind of changed things. Certainly, it changed things for my 300 plus passing yards for Patrick, and it changed things on the Jacksonville side as well because they just weren't. They weren't running up and down the field like we expected.
It wasn't what we wanted, and I really did think that even with even if the Chiefs offense can't be sparky, especially after the injury to Mahomes, I was hoping that would give the Jaguars some incentive to pick it up, and maybe I'd get that Trevor Lawrence 2 passing touchdowns. Just didn't happen the way I wanted it to.
Yeah. All right. Well, that was the first game on Saturday. Let's move on now to the second game on Saturday, which was the New York Giants at the Philadelphia Eagles. And so none of us were believers in the Giants against the Vikings. So then we overcorrected and all jumped on the Giants against the Eagles. And that pick did not prove to be all that good. The Giants did not cover the 7.5-point spread. They would not have covered had it been, 4 times that. They got boat raced out of the building, and the 3 of us all took L's. So for Tommy and myself, we were 0-2 on Saturday. Ben got his 1-1. Not great. Let's check the props. Dallas Goedert, anytime touchdown. AJ Brown, anytime TD. And I expected to see a decent game out of Saquon Barkley. Well done, Tommy. Your tight end props always seem to hit.
Love them. They always pull through for me. And Dallas Goedert's touchdown catch was impressive.
Well, and Ben, Eagles scored 38 points. AJ Brown's going to have a couple touchdowns, right? If they're getting a 38, how does he not score?
What happened? I don't know. I'm heartbroken.
Yeah. No, it's one of those things. But yeah, Dallas Goedert, man, he's. I was surprised that you didn't jump on him again this week because he has become the red zone monster down there. All right, so that's Saturday's games. The early game on Sunday, and again, we all jumped on the Cincinnati Bengals to cover that 5-point spread against the Buffalo Bills. Hell yeah. Good job, guys. You
Hell
nailed that
yeah.
one.
Felt good.
The Bengals didn't just cover the spread, they put a beat down on the Bills. And um, yeah, I was surprised at just how anemic Buffalo looked. Obviously, we all thought Cincinnati was going to play well, and we did not. However, at least I didn't think that the Bills were going to play as poorly as they did.
I didn't think they would play as bad, but wow, just a lot of credit to the Bengals, just shutting them down all over in every which way, you know.
Yeah, let's check the props here, and then let's go ahead and talk a little bit more about the Bills here in a second. Prop bets for this game. Tommy had Gabe Davis scoring a couple touchdowns. That obviously did not happen. Stephon Diggs did not score, and my little Hail Mary pass and my correct score did not come to fruition. So we all took losses there on those three props. Before we move on to the last game on Sunday, let's talk about the Bills. So the Bills were the preseason favorites to win the Super Bowl. They were, there was a whole, we got to make sure that when they get to the AFC Championship game, they get to play at a neutral site because they've been robbed of a game because of the DeMar Hamlin situation. And then they go out and they lay an absolute egg. And, they lost in the AFC Championship game 2 years ago. Last year, they lost in the divisional round. And now this year, losing in the divisional round at home and by 17 points. What do you guys see for this team going forward?
It's not what we expected. And even my internship class for Noob Sports, we had a group wide poll on who we thought was going to be the MVP and win the Super Bowl, and it was Josh Allen and the Bills respectively. So it's definitely not what we expected, not only as fans but as a company, I guess. And there's with so much talent and so much promise, having so little playoff success just makes you wonder if it's really because of, like, we first thought it was Patrick Mahomes and those Chiefs teams, and then the Bengals are doing it. It's not a coincidence. It's not because both teams are the best team in football. They just don't play up to the moment.
Well, you know what? Josh Allen makes me want to shout. You know what? Oh my goodness. What are we doing anointing these guys the kings of the AFC? Listen, the Bengals beating the Bills isn't some weird miracle, lest we forget that the Bengals were in the big game a year ago. Listen, this isn't some bum team, right? Like, Joe Burrow's the real deal. He's already proven it. And yet, time after time, the media and football fans want to jump up and claim Josh Allen as the next great one. I'm sorry. Joe Burrow has proven, consistently that he is better and that we need to start putting more respect on this Cincinnati team. I think a lot of fans are remembering the early Bengals of this season, that first like 6 week stretch. And you know what? You have to have a quick what is it? Quick forgetting process, whatever. Just
Short
looking forward.
memory.
Short memory. That's what you need. You need a short memory. Just look forward. Look at this Bengals team now. They're streaking and looking great at the right time. And you know what? If they keep playing like this, they could easily win a Super Bowl. It's crazy.
Well, yeah, I watched Allen in this game, well, and even against the Dolphins in their first game, and it was what Patrick Mahomes had to learn. And I think losing Tyreek Hill helped. You can't just always go downfield, and it's great to have a cannon of an arm and to be able to stretch the field and to get that big, huge chunk play. But Josh Allen, time and time again, was only trying to get that big chunk play. And he wasn't just taking the 7 and 8 yard completion that was sitting right in front of him. And I think that made a huge difference in this game. It almost cost them against the Dolphins. It did cost them in this game. And he's got to learn to be an actual quarterback. He can't just be a gunslinger out there. It was a transition that Patrick had to make, and he did so to the point where he's going to win the MVP award. Josh Allen has to make that transition. Yes, he's got a great arm, but you can't always show off that great arm and expect to win games. We've seen plenty of guys with great arms come into the NFL and fail because they won't take what the defense gives them. He kept going deep, and it cost them in this game. Obviously there were other problems with the Bills in this game, but really the Josh Allen was the biggest factor in them losing by 17 at home. And they're going to be up against the salary cap next year. They will have Von Miller coming back, but Von Miller's making a pretty penny. He's no longer that guy you can count on for 17 games. He is going to be a rotational guy at this point in his career because of the fragility of just being an aged football player. They're going to have some challenges as they go into next season. They're going to get pushed more in that division. Well, it's really interesting to see what the Jets will do in the offseason to make, even to tighten that division up further. Obviously, we know the Dolphins were a playoff team. Tommy, your buddies up there in New England, they're not going to stand pat, and then we'll see what the Jets do. But that AFC East, we may see the Bills come back to the pack just a little bit next year and make that a division race.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to see it. I think the AFC East is one of the most competitive divisions in football, and with the Bill O'Brien hire, and then not only that,
Yeah.
but hoping for the best in Miami, the Jets if they get a big quarterback. I mean, we're talking about Aaron Rodgers possibly coming through. There's going to be a lot of competition in the AFC East. It's not going to be handed to the Bills. They got to play three of the better teams in the AFC
Yeah.
twice a year. It's going to be a
Well,
tough
and they're going to
season.
play, and they're playing the Bengals next year again, and they're playing the Chiefs again next year. I mean, they're playing a first place schedule, and they're going to play all these good teams again. It's going to be fun. And as you mentioned, Bill O'Brien, do we think he's going to be better than Matt Patricia?
I hope so. I hope so.
He can't. A shoe could be better than Matt Patricia as the offensive coordinator.
You really think that the Patriots fans aren't smart enough to know who their offensive coordinator is, but this year is the year that everybody had to know that Matt Patricia was garbage, and it's all I heard from every Patriots fan in Massachusetts. I'm so sick of it.
I think that we've hit this point, going back to the Bills, that the glitz and glamour has worn off. We are no longer, and I don't think the football world is going to grade this team off of potential anymore.
Yeah.
There's some teams that you go into a season and you'll give them a high ceiling because on paper the potential is there. That's what we've been doing to the Bills for the past 3-4, and this is a prove it league, and I think the Bills are going to be in a difficult spot because they are going into their prove it season. I would even argue that this was their prove it season.
Yeah.
But going into this next one, just the amount of pressure and the fact that they won't be able to field a roster that is as good as the one that they put on the field this year. I don't think. It's hard to be optimistic in Buffalo because it feels like you may have seen your ceiling already.
Well, they went out this offseason and they spent all that money on Von Miller, and they got no further in the postseason. So you have to look at that as a wasted move at this point. And the Rams showed us just how quickly those windows can close.
Mm-hmm.
So Tommy, without any further ado, let's go ahead and get to the last game of the weekend. It was your San Francisco 49ers hosting the Dallas Cowboys. We all were on board with the 49ers covering that 4-point spread, and they won by 7. So all three of us took the victory. So that was 6 picks on Sunday, 6 wins on Sunday. This is why you should listen to us. We know what we're doing. Sunday we just rocked the world there. Let's check out how our props did. Deebo Samuel over 56.5 for Tommy. Ben had McCaffrey touchdown and a 49er win. Well, we know we got the 49er win. Tony Pollard over 45 rushing yards and Dak under. Deebo Samuel fell about 8 yards short, I think.
Yeah,
like
it was
that.
ridiculous.
He was in the high 40s there. McCaffrey, of course, got his touchdown. San Francisco got the win. Dak Prescott way under 275 passing yards. That was right on that. But Tony Pollard got hurt before he had a chance to go over, and he broke his leg. He should be fine by the time the regular season starts. But he's a free agent, right? I think somebody. I hope people aren't scared off by a broken leg because he's a stud and deserves to get love. Um, let's go back and talk about. So we talked about the Bills. Let's go ahead and talk about the Jags real quick, who were the losers in that first game. I don't want to speak for you guys, but I would guess that all of us feel pretty good about Jacksonville going forward, and we think that that is going to be a team to be reckoned with for the next several years in the AFC.
They already have such a deep receiving core. They're already in talks with Evan Ingram about an extension. I mean, and then they got Calvin Ridley coming next year. So this is going to be one of the maybe not the absolutely most talented, but they are going to be one of the deepest receiving cores in the league with talent. And you go anywhere on the depth chart, you'll find somebody who could catch a pass as a 2 or 3 receiver on any other NFL team. So this is going to be a really exciting Jacksonville offense next year, and I hope that they don't have to pick it up at the end to make the playoffs, and we'll see a more dominant team.
Well, and going off of that, I just don't think that they will. I think that they've found their groove. I think it took them a little bit to put all the pieces together, especially because they're young pieces, right?
Mm-hmm.
But look at what the division they're playing in, right? It's Indy, Houston, and Tennessee. You could easily walk away, from that 4-2, 5-1. You know what I mean? With that, if they play to the ceiling that we saw this year. So future looks bright for the teal. Future looks real bright for the teal.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, they're so young. I mean, Lawrence has played for 2 years. This essentially was Travis Etienne's rookie season. His rookie season was wiped out by injury. All of these guys are going to grow together as a unit, and they're sitting here right now. They are the favorites to win the AFC South. Obviously we still don't know who's going to be the coach in Houston, who's going to be the coach in Indianapolis. Although the fact that Irsay is saying that he wants Jeff Saturday on the staff, I mean, okay, so you're going to hire a head coach but not let him pick who his staff is. Does anybody have any faith that the Colts are going to be able to figure it out with Irsay in charge? And obviously Houston is still a train wreck. Jaguars all the way in the AFC South next year. I wouldn't be surprised if they are an 11 to 12 win team next year, to be honest, based on that division.
Definitely.
All right. The New York Giants. They were bad in the playoffs, or certainly in their game against the Eagles. They were very bad. But do we feel pretty good about this team?
50-50. There's no real, they didn't really instill any confidence in me, but they were very competitive. So it's not going to be the same, you just run through the Giants every year and the Giants are the cupcake on the schedule. But I don't know if I see them going too much further in the playoffs next year. It's always possible, but I mean, we saw the best version of Danny Dimes in that wild card round, and we're not going to see that best version of Danny Dimes all the time. I mean, he did have a good season, but it was just pretty good. It wasn't special. He earned himself one more year as the New York Giants starting quarterback, and then he's just going to have to earn it again next year. It's not, this team is not set in stone in any regard, and it could go in either direction.
I I am with you on so much of that. I am not confident that they will show the same success next year that they did this year. However, over the long term, I am more, you know, I feel better about their chances at sustained mediocrity. Uh in comparison to where they were
Mm-hmm.
prior, right? Which is, bottom of the league.
Yeah.
So I yeah, I don't know that if we ever see this peak again, and I think that we often will probably look back on this as that great Giants year of just wonder where everything was just working out for them. Um, but I do think that Daniel Jones kind of shored up, I don't think that he's great, but I think that he's a serviceable quarterback. I have a lot of faith in Saquon Barkley, but do I have faith in the Giants? I'm not sure overall.
Yeah, I think that with Dayball as their head coach, they're never going to go back and lose 12 games again. But it may be that 9, maybe they can eke out 10 wins in a season, but they really do need to do a roster overhaul. Keeping Daniel Jones is going to cost them some money. Keeping Saquon Barkley is going to cost them some money. They're both free agents. They've got to do something at wide receiver. They've got nobody. There's a lot to be done on this roster, and that division is tough. I mean, obviously you've got the Eagles and the Cowboys, and the Commanders are not a bad team either. So you've got a tough division to be in, unlike what the Jaguars have. And so speaking of that division, the last of the teams that lost in the divisional round, the Dallas Cowboys. What do we see them going forward?
What do we see them going forward? Not
Yeah,
much. There's gonna be a bit of an overhaul on this roster, I think, and I think that maybe the noise from Dallas fans and NFL fans alike on their dislike towards Dak Prescott and his he constantly turns the ball over. He makes bad decisions in crunch time. He's not an elite quarterback. He's starting to look like another Kirk Cousins, big money, sometimes big stats, but doesn't produce when he needs to, and it might really end up taking away from this Dallas roster. They might move on from him. I don't think they will this season, but if he keeps playing the way he has, this team's success is going to dwindle. It really all relies on whether Dak Prescott can really show show everybody up, show up all the fans and the haters that he's actually worthwhile. But we also said that about Kyler Murray this year, and it didn't go how we expected it. So I don't know what to think.
I have to feel like you've probably lost most of the Cowboys fan base if you've lost Skip Bayless, who is throwing his Dak Prescott jersey in the trash can. I I almost like the idea of taking Derek Carr to Dallas, just to see what happens. But yeah, no, I think that we've seen the ceiling of Dak Prescott. I think that he had a story in which you wanted his ceiling to be higher. But we all knew realistically he wasn't going to be the sole reason that this team won a Super Bowl. And as much as I love to trash on the Cowboys, this roster, this team, the pieces were in play. It felt like a really good, complete team. And when they needed a quarterback the most, Dak just couldn't be there,
Yeah.
it felt like.
He
So,
vanished.
yeah, man, I don't know. Moving forward, Cooper Rush, maybe I don't know what Dallas will want, but yeah, it kind of feels like Dak has kind of run his course in Dallas, at least for me.
Well, yeah, I mean, the big question coming into the season was, can CeeDee Lamb step up and be a true number one? Well, he answered that question easily. I mean, yes, he can be the absolute go-to guy, stud that you need. But when you have a quarterback who's giving the ball away all the time, I did see that it once Burrow and Herbert and the expected contracts get sent down, that Prescott will be about the 12th or 13th highest paid quarterback in the league, and that's about right. That's about where he deserves to fit right now. He's not a top 10 quarterback because a top 10 quarterback does not give the football away in those kind of critical situations as often as he does. And it's not that it's one thing when a quarterback throws an interception because he's trying to make a play. For Dak, he's just making bad throws, making bad reads and bad throws, and that's where his interceptions are coming from. On the Skip Bayless video, I saw somebody, I forget now who it was who commented it, but they were most disappointed in the fact that Skip has all of that money coming in, and his kitchen was that pedestrian. It's like, come on, all that Fox money that you got, and that's your kitchen. Come on,
No,
Skip,
don't
do
worry.
better.
That's his second house.
And I got to be honest, I was a little disappointed in his kitchen too. So the Cowboys, we'll see. I mean, obviously, Jared Jones is not going to just take it down or take this lying down. Mike McCarthy, though, he should not be fired. He took this team exactly where it should go based on the talent that it has. Losing to the 49ers is what they should have done. They don't deserve to be in the championship game. They're not as good as the Eagles or the 49ers. And it's not Mike McCarthy's fault.
I'm not sold
So
on Mike McCarthy though. I would like to see them do well next year,
yeah,
but if they don't, I wouldn't necessarily say sack Mike McCarthy, but you'd have to start at least weighing the option because you can't just
yeah.
have disappoint your fans consistently for multiple years.
Well, he
I
does have a street name for him at Lambeau Field, so I mean he's got that going for him.
I think that if you put a top 10 quarterback in Dallas, they win the Super Bowl with this roster. Like
Yeah,
it was just that loaded, and it's kind of just insane to think about. Like if Justin Herbert's in Dallas, think about that team. You feel like the ceilings, sky's the limit with that. So yeah, it just
yeah.
really is sad that it feels like Dak Prescott seems to be the limiting factor for this squad.
All right. Well, let's turn the page on the divisional round and the teams that are out and turn ourselves to the championship games on Sunday. And we're going to start off with our championship game quiz.
Oh,
The
jeez.
winner of tonight's quiz will get to pick their top bet of the weekend first. The loser will go second. And myself, as the illustrious host of the game, will pick third. Um, Championship game quiz. All of these are championship games that have taken place in the last 10 years. So you've seen these games, you watch these games, you know these games. I didn't go way back into the history books and pick games that I am familiar with as an old and you guys are not. So all of these games are from the
Yikes.
last 10 years. And it's so simple. I'm going to show you a scoreboard. You're going to tell me the teams that scoreboard
Oh
represents.
Oh
shit.
my goodness
All
gracious.
right. So let's go. It's an odd numbered week. This is our 21st episode. So Tommy, it goes back to you picking first. This is your first game, and we will learn through this first how this is all going to work. All right. Here's the scoreboard. Home team won this championship game 20-17. The home team was the fourth seed in the playoffs. The away team was the sixth seed. The home team was favored by 3.5 points.
Am I allowed to know if this is Oh wait, no. I don't even know why I'm talking. This was last year, wasn't it? This was the Rams Niners game when we were disappointed and lost because of
It
Jimmy G.
was indeed the Rams and
Whoa.
Niners NFC Championship game from 2021. Well done, Tommy Birch. That is a point for you. All right.
Yay.
So, see, easy game, right?
Love
Easy
looking at
game.
my team's disappointing seasons.
All right. Moving on. Ben, this is to you. Home team was favored by 7 in this game, but they lost 24-27. They were the 2 seed. They lost to the 4 seed.
Hmm. I'm going to say Chiefs Patriots.
This was also last year. This
Oh
was
damn
Chiefs
it!
Bengals. The 17 games in the
Should
record
have
should
known
have
that.
given that away. Yes, this was the 2021 AFC Championship game. Cincinnati Bengals winning on the road 27-24. All right. Tommy, back to you.
It's gonna be so
Yay.
bad.
Home team wins 24-20 in this championship game. They were the 1 seed favored by 7.5 points. They did not cover, but they did beat the 3 seed and move on to the Super Bowl.
24-20?
Who are these teams?
Um is this the 2016 Patriots Steelers game?
Oh, so close. This is the 2017 Patriots Jaguars game.
Uh,
You were almost there. This was when the Pats knocked off the Jacksonville Jaguars 24-20 to advance to the Super Bowl.
Blake Bortles.
And then I believe they lost to the Philadelphia Eagles in that Super Bowl. All
Yeah.
right, Ben, back to you. Home team demolishes the away team 38-7. The home team was the 1 seed, but actually a 3-point underdog in this game. But obviously, they covered that spread and won by 31 over the 2 seed. Which championship game was this?
I have no clue. It sounds like a game I should remember because it sounds like it was absolutely insane. Um,
I love this game.
Dude, I have no
You
clue.
will remember this when you hear the answer.
Yeah.
Uh, you should tell me the answer so I can just skip straight to embarrassment here on this
Okay.
one.
The Philadelphia Eagles beating the Minnesota Vikings also in 2017. The reason, of course, the Eagles were a underdog at home as the 1 seed was because Nick Foles was quarterbacking in place of
Makes
Carson Wentz. But
sense.
of course, Nick Foles was being touched by God that postseason on his way to the Super Bowl.
wasn't
Eagles,
wasn't this the day after no, the week after the
it was the week after the
Minneapolis
Minneapolis
game?
Miracle, yeah.
Minneapolis Miracle. Yes.
That was
Yes.
this was ridiculous. And the last time that the Eagles won a game 38-7 in the playoffs, they won a Super Bowl. So you know what happened last week?
They won 38-7. Yes, indeed.
This is interesting.
And they beat a team who had just won a game in Minneapolis. So
Science.
it just gets even spookier.
Wow.
But yeah, the Vikings. It's sad because Stephon Diggs was the hero of that Minneapolis Miracle, and that has been his postseason high point. Got to go back 5 years to find Stephon Diggs' postseason high point.
Nice.
All right, so back to you, Tommy. Final score: home team wins 20-18. The home team was the 1 seed at 12-4, but they were 3-point underdogs to the away team, the 2 seed, also at 12-4 for the season.
I think I know this game because
Well,
this
let's hear it.
score is very specific. This was the year that the Patriots got knocked off by the Broncos, right?
It was indeed the
Damn it, I didn't know this one. That's
Denver
so sad.
Broncos in the
That's so sad.
2015 AFC
Oh,
Championship game.
you give
Denver
him a
Broncos
Niners one? Oh, my
beating
heart.
the New England Patriots, and the Broncos go on to win the Super Bowl. That was Super Bowl 50 that year. So yes,
I remember
well
the
I
done,
know
Patriot
my
version.
I
Tommy
know my
Birch.
Patriots playoff success. I have to live
Oh,
around it.
they started marching with Gronk. Oh, my heartbeat. Poor little Ben. It's crazy.
All right. So Ben, back to you.
Oh,
Home team is the 1 seed. They are 4-point favorites over the 5 seed. Although at 12-4, a pretty good wild card team there. Final score: home team 23, away team 17.
Wait a
6-point
minute.
win at home for the 1 seed. They go on to the Super Bowl. Who are these teams?
was this the Rams and the Saints?
It was not the Rams and the Saints because the Rams won that game on the road
Oh,
in
damn.
the Superdome. Tommy, do you know this game?
Yes, sorry, receiver like Crabtree. This was the Seahawks beating the Niners. This was so sad. This is one of the
It
worst moments
is
of
the
my
Seattle
life.
This is
Seahawks beating the
terrible.
San Francisco 49ers
This was
to
the
win the
notorious game.
2013 NFC Championship game. Tommy knows his championship game. Certainly,
No,
if it involved the Niners or the Patriots,
that's
and a lot of championship games have. So, well
why are you
done
making
there,
relive
Mr.
this
Burt.
heartbreak?
Good
All
stuff.
right, Tommy, we're back to you because that was Ben's question.
Yay.
Home team,
Oh
seven and a
no.
half point favorites as the 2 seed, taking on a 9-7 sixth seed. They won 35-24. Do you know who these teams are?
The last 9-7 playoff team that I can think of is either like the Buffalo Bills when they won because of the Bengals win, or the Tennessee Titans when they whooped the Patriots in the divisional. I don't know if it was divisional wild card, but was it Titans? Um, was this when they beat New England in the AFC Championship, or I don't know if they played the? Is it Titans
Well, the
Patriots?
team that won this championship game was a 12-4 team, and they won at home.
So,
So if you're
oh
saying the Titans were a
geez.
bad snuck in by the skin of their teeth, then no, that is not. This is not that game.
No. Is this Patriots Colts?
This is the Kansas City Chiefs
Chiefs.
and the Tennessee Titans in 2019.
Is this when they
The
won the Super
Chiefs.
Bowl?
That was the
This
right
is
Titans team too.
this
Yeah.
is the year the Chiefs won the Super Bowl. Yes,
Oh,
it was the Titans sneaking in as the last playoff team that year, making it to the championship game and losing to the Chiefs by 11 points.
Who'd the
so
Chiefs be in
sad.
that
So
Super Bowl?
close.
Who did the Chiefs beat in that Super Bowl? Tommy, you seem to remember these things.
I think this is enough talking.
Okay.
All right.
Just going over history here.
Just going over all the Niners losses over the last like 10 years. This is great.
All right, Ben. Our last of our 8 questions is to you.
Hopefully.
Away team wins this one 31-26. They were 3-point underdogs to the home team. They were also a wild card at 11-5. They beat the 13-3 number 1 seed on the road to advance to the Super Bowl.
Is this one the Rams and the Saints?
This one is the Packers and the Buccaneers.
It's not actually.
This was Tom Brady knocking off Aaron Rodgers at Lambeau Field. The infamous Aaron Rodgers deciding not to run the ball from the 10-yard line there at the end of the game, and all the rigmarole that happened there. This was 2020, the NFC Championship game. Bucks beating the Packers. Now, Tommy has won our game, but I do have a tiebreaker question just for the fun of it. Let's go ahead and do this. Now, for the tiebreaker question, I'm going to show you an old NFL championship score. This is one of the more famous scores, so I'm hopeful that you guys know this game. And whichever one of you is closest to getting the year right will win this question. All right? Home team won this NFL championship game 59-14. There were 2 divisions in the NFL back in this day. The winning team was 8-4. They won their division. The losing team 9-2-1, and they won their division. Do you know what year this game took place? Bonus points if you can pick the teams.
I don't know.
So, Tommy, it's you get to go first, making your pick.
This kind of makes me think of I don't know why, but like a Kurt Warner Rams team for some reason.
Well, but this is an NFL championship, so this is before the creation of the NFC.
So just a year.
Yes, this is before the merger. So this is before 1966.
I'll go 1960.
1960 is Tommy's guess. All right.
Is this 1962 in the Packers and the Cowboys?
This is the Detroit Lions knocking off the Cleveland Browns 59-14 in 1957. So Tommy was closest with his guess of 1960.
Yay.
Yes, back in the day, the 2 powers in the NFL, the Detroit Lions and the Cleveland Browns. My, how long ago that was. All right. Well done on our scoreboard quiz, NFC Championship related. So from championship games of yore, let's move on to this week's championship games. The first game on Sunday afternoon, San Francisco 49ers. The tale of the tape for the 49ers, you got Kyle Shanahan as your head coach in his 6th season. He is 6-2 all time in the postseason. Of course, he has appeared in 1 Super Bowl. Brock Purdy, the starting quarterback, 5 regular season starts, 1,374 passing yards, 13 TDs to just 4 interceptions. He was twice first team All Big 12 selection. Since he doesn't have a whole lot of NFL accolades, I filled his board up with some of his college props. 49ers, the best team at defensive scoring. They gave up just 16 points per game. Best team in the league in defensive DVOA and best team in defensive EPA. But if you look at those offensive numbers, they are not just a defensive team. 6th in the NFL in points scored, 6th in the NFL in yards per play. The other team, the Philadelphia Eagles, the East champions, 15-3 right now. Notice that they're only 9-9 against the spread. The 49ers considerably better than that. Nick Sirianni in his second season as an NFL head coach, 1-1 in the postseason. Jalen Hurts in his second full season as a starting quarterback, his 3rd year in the league. He was selected to the Pro Bowl this year, second team All-Pro this year. This team second in the NFL in scoring points, first in only allowing 4.8 yards per play. Their defense has been fantastic. As you can see there, they are top 5 in offensive EPA and defensive EPA. And our picks for this game, Eagles at home favored by 2.5. No surprise that Tommy Birch is all over those San Francisco 49ers. Ben and I going with the Eagles. Since Tommy, go ahead. Since you are the lone wolf on this one, tell us why you think that the 49ers, I'm assuming you don't just think they're going to cover the spread. I think you think they're going to win this game outright.
Yeah, with that spread, I'm not just going to say that it's going to be a 1-point game. I do think that the Niners are going to win this game, and this really doesn't have to do with fan bias. I think that the Niners are one of the most well-rounded teams in the league, and they are competing for that number 1 spot in the power rankings. I mean, their offense is great. Their offensive system is incredible, and you could just fit any quarterback in there, and they can succeed. That's what we've seen with the Jimmy Garoppolos and Brock Purdy's. I think that the Eagles are incredible. I do. I just really do think that the San Francisco team is built to scrape out in a win against the Eagles.
Well, I mean, I don't think anybody thinks that 49ers can't win this game. I mean, it's obviously it's a close spread. They have won 12 games in a row. They are as good as any team in football right now. And as you said, they have a wonderful system in place. There's a reason why Kyle Shanahan is a finalist for Coach of the Year. He has had 3 different starting quarterbacks, and this team they get better the deeper they get into their bench at quarterback. That's obviously, you got Nick Bosa, who's probably going to be your defensive player of the year. This is a great team. So many good weapons. Christian McCaffrey, probably going to go down as one of the most consequential midseason trades ever. He has the most yards from scrimmage ever for a player traded midseason. Yeah, lots of reasons to like the 49ers. Me personally, I think that Jalen Hurts at quarterback gives this team an edge over Brock Purdy at quarterback. Brock Purdy has exceeded all expectations, but he didn't have a great game last week. Jalen Hurts is back to being healthy, and to me, that is the edge. They just have the edge at quarterback. The Eagles have a great offensive line. They've got Jalen Hurts, and I think because of that, they win in a pretty defensive game here.
Yeah. Well, yeah. The Niners only put up 19 points last week. You got to be able to put up more points against the Eagles. Hurts is going to be able to, put up 24 at least. I think that just that small edge there, I have to go with the Eagles on this one.
It's respectable. I do think that the Eagles are going to be probably the best competition that the Niners get this year, but I do have to stick by my guns because I did say to these two guys that if Brock Purdy wins the Finals MVP, the Super Bowl MVP, then I'm going to tattoo his name and number on my body. So there's a little bit of me that kind of wants the Eagles to win.
Mama Birch, he offered that up himself. Neither one of us encouraged that. That was Tommy's own proffer to the group. So
Mama Birch doesn't need to know about this.
All right. So we have some prop bets for this game. Tommy, tell us about yours.
So I know that Brock Purdy did not have a good week last week, but it is the only game that he has started in the entire season that he has not thrown multiple touchdowns. And like if we just following the stats here, and I know it's a playoff game, it's the championship game, it's away, but statistically, 90% of the time, Brock Purdy is throwing multiple touchdowns in a game as a starter. And I'm just following the stats here. I'm doing what the numbers tell me to do, and it's telling me that this and plus money doesn't make much sense.
Well, obviously they have a lot of different guys that he can throw touchdown passes to, which makes that even more likely to happen. I think it's going to be a defensive game, but I could certainly see Purdy throwing a couple of touchdowns. You've got heck, they could be both McCaffrey. I mean, you've got Kittle, you've got Debo, you've got Brandon Ayuk, you've got all kinds of guys who can score for this team. Ben, you are all over AJ Brown again. You had him last week. You're getting more money this week. That was, I think it was what, plus 100 last week? You've got plus
Yeah.
140 for him this week.
Listen, lightning doth not strike twice. And you know what? What you do is you take the money that you lost last week on listening to silly old Ben on this one, even though you did end up positive over at the end of the week. Listen, you take the money that you lost on that bet, you put it down on this bet, boom, you get your money back plus a little bit extra pocket change. I like it. Plus 140. I promise. What are the odds? I can't promise, but what are the odds, right? Seems astronomical.
No, it's a great value. I mean, again, last week they were paying plus 100. Now we're getting plus 140 for the same prop. I like it. I'm all over AJ on that one. So I think it's going to be more of a defensive battle. I think Christian McCaffrey stays under 61.5 rushing yards. I think he may approach 100 yards total, but I don't think that running the ball he is going to rack up big yardage here. I think that for the 49ers offense to be successful, they're going to have to probably rely on a short passing game more than running the football. The Eagles very good at stopping the run. So I've got McCaffrey going under. I also have the game total going under, and those two combined are paying me plus 225. So again, McCaffrey under 61.5 rush yards and the game total under 46 for the 49ers at the Eagles in the NFC Championship game. Moving on to the AFC Championship game and the tail of the tape here. Cincinnati Bengals, the AFC North champions, defending AFC champions, Zach Taylor, in his fourth season as an NFL head coach, 5-1 in the postseason. All 5 of those wins have come in the last 13 months. Pretty impressive start to his head coaching career. Joe Burrow, his third season as the starting quarterback in Cincinnati, named to the Pro Bowl this year, had 4,475 passing yards, 35 touchdowns. He is also 5-1 in the playoffs, 8 touchdowns to just 2 picks. Top 10 in both points per game and opposing points per game. They are this is a good team on both sides of the football. That's what, we've talked about this. These are really the 4 best teams in football that are in this Final Four. All 4 of these teams can be seen lifting a Lombardi trophy and not having to be a figment of imagination. These are all 4 very good teams. The Bengals, they're 4th in offensive DVOA, 5th in offensive EPA. Just a good team. Taking on the home team, Kansas City Chiefs, AFC West champions, in their 5th straight AFC Championship game. Andy Reid just became the first coach in NFL history to win 10 postseason games with 2 different teams. He, of course, won Super Bowl 54. Patrick Mahomes in his 5th season as a starting quarterback, 5-time Pro Bowler, 2-time first-team All-Pro, 2018 NFL MVP, and likely MVP here in 2022. Chiefs' highest scoring offense in the league. They have the most yards per play. They lead the league in offensive DVOA and offensive EPA. But as you can see from these numbers, of the 4 defenses that are playing on Sunday, the Chiefs have the worst of those 4. Also, 6-11-1 against the spread, also the worst out of all 4 teams. Let's go ahead and pick this game. Bengals minus 1.5 points. They are the favorites on the road, largely because of the Patrick Mahomes injury, although the Bengals have also won 3 straight against the Chiefs. And Tommy and Ben are on the Bengals here. I am going with the Chiefs. Since I'm the lone wolf, let me go ahead and give you my rationale, and then you can explain to me why you think the Bengals will get it done. We already saw this spread actually tighten. It's now down to 1. Part of that is because the video that we saw today of Patrick Mahomes at practice, we're recording this on Wednesday. So the Wednesday practice for Patrick Mahomes, no walking boot. He's actually out there with the team. He has a full participant in practice today. If that had happened by Friday or Saturday, I was going to be amazed. For it to happen on Wednesday, it just does. It defies logic from a high ankle sprain. He had this kind of an injury in 2019 in the first game of that season against the Jags. He ended up going out and throwing 300 plus yards in 4 straight games following that injury. Never missed a game. Threw 4 touchdowns the next game out, 3 touchdowns the game after that. He's had experience with this kind of injury before, and he looked really good today in practice. I just don't think we're probably going to see a different Patrick Mahomes than we've seen in the past. He's not going to be nearly as mobile, even though he looked all right. He's not going to be the same Patrick Mahomes. But if you're talking about an offensive coach that can scheme a pocket passing game for Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid is that right guy. You've got an offensive genius, and I think given a week's time, Reid and Eric Bieniemy, the offensive coordinator, and Mahomes can come up with a plan to mitigate his ankle. You've got an offensive line that's pretty good that will be charged with keeping him healthy. And you've got a defense that's played well against the Bengals the last 2 times. You go back to the AFC Championship game last year. The Chiefs had a 1st and goal at the 5-yard line with 1.5 minutes to play, and they had to settle for a field goal to send it into overtime. They very easily could have won that game. They were a play away from winning that game. In the game this year, the Chiefs were going to win, and then Travis Kelce fumbled. These are very, very tightly matched teams. This game is going to come down to a final possession. Which team makes the fewest mistakes? I think because of the veteran leadership of this team, the fact that they've been there. The Bengals obviously have experience now the last 2 years. They're a very good team. I just think being at home, I like getting 1.5 but I can see this being a 28-27 kind of game. It's going to be a classic game. It's going to come down to the wire. I like the Chiefs to get it done because they are at home and because they have a witch at quarterback in Patrick Mahomes.
I do think. Oh, sorry, Ben. You can go.
Oh, Kyle, I just wish that the internet, in these online podcasts would have been more popular back in the day, so we could draw the similarities between the Chief fans now to the Cleveland Brown fans of back in the day with Schottenheimer. Look, the Bengals seemingly have the Chiefs number, and there's just something about that. And you can't deny it. Somehow, it seems Mahomes can beat anybody anywhere, except all of a sudden, let me present to you the Cincinnati Bengals. I don't know what it is about it, but I'm just going to have to follow the Cincinnati Magic. I love Joe Burrow. Everyone loves Joe Burrow. And if TikTok's to be believed, every woman in America loves Joe Burrow. I am right here riding the Joe Burrow hype train, and let the lines tighten a little bit more. I would love to get Cincinnati at some better odds here. I'm going to be taking the Cincinnati Bengals -1.
I'm totally with you. I'm gonna be real. It's not that I think that the Chiefs are worse than the Bengals as a team. I do think that the Chiefs' offense is better than the Bengals. Obviously, the defense isn't what they're known for, but it should level itself out with how incredible their offense is. I just have like one positive about the Bengals and one negative about the Chiefs that really sets the difference. The first thing about the Chiefs is, although Mahomes' ankle sprain maybe gives them half a step back in their offense. They have so many facilities on offense that it's really not going to be that big of an issue. But I think that both teams are so similar in talent overall that half a step back could just maybe give the Bengals an edge. And also, the Bengals really showed who they were last week against the Bills. The Bills, even with Josh Allen playing the way he did, Their defense is still very good, and the Bengals tore them apart and made them look silly. And if the Bengals can play like that against a Chiefs defense who is statistically worse than that Bills defense, it's going to be, even if it's so close of a game, it's going to be a very high scoring game. But I really do think that the Bengals are just going to inch it out, just barely, maybe a 3-point win, game winning field goal.
No, it's going to be well. All three of the last games have all been field goal games. They've been won by 3 points. They're all close games. This will be a close game. I would, though, we talked about the Bengals and how good they looked against the Bills. Had Tyler Huntley not decided to stick the ball out into the air, the Bengals never get to that Bills game. So that's the nature of the sport. It's why we love it. It's a week to week league. 1 week you can be a fluke play away from losing a game. The next week you can go out and just tear somebody apart, and that's what the Bengals have done. But it's a close game, and I think in the end the Chiefs get it done at home. But it's why we play the games. It's why we love the sport. Really, these are going to be 2 classic games on Sunday. And if you love football, you are going to be planted in front of your TV and turn the phone off, because it's going to be a fantastic weekend of football. We have props for this game. Tommy, why don't you go ahead and start with yours?
So I was a little disappointed last week with Joe Burrow's passing performance, and he disappointed me because I actually gave some betting advice to some friends, and they put money in on Joe Burrow over I think it might have been 285. But no matter, this game is going to actually be a shootout. The only reason Joe Burrow didn't hit that number last week is because they were winning by so much that in the last 2 drives, they ran the ball almost, if not every single play. Joe Burrow and Patrick Mahomes are going to have a real shootout, and with both of their numbers being the exact same and getting plus money on that, I think that's a steal. I would put real money on this game because it genuinely looks like the best case scenario.
No, I'm hopeful that it doesn't turn into this kind of a shootout, because I think that bodes well for the Bengals. But obviously, you've picked the Bengals. You're picking a shootout, look, if that happens, and plus 252, that's a nice payday for 2 quarterbacks who are easily capable of both going for 350 to 400 apiece. So, I don't like it because I don't like what it implies, not because I don't like it as a bet. How about that?
I like that one.
All right, Ben, your pick.
Well, if you didn't like that, you're gonna love what my bet implies. Listen,
Doesn't imply anything. It just flat out says it.
I got Chase scoring a touchdown and getting that Cincinnati win. Why? Because anytime I can get a nice, someone that I know to win when their money lines in the minus, like boosting that up a little bit. We get at +10 by packaging it with a Chase touchdown. And listen, Chase and Burrow have the connection that we were told that Carr and Adams had. So, there you go. I actually think that they score touchdowns because they do score touchdowns. I like the win +210. Here we go. Go Cincinnati. Who day?
All right. I am going to go with an Isaiah Pacheco parlay here. He's going to go over 69.5 rush yards and score a touchdown, because I think that the Chiefs, in an effort to protect Patrick Mahomes' ankle, are going to be more run heavy in this game than we're used to seeing from them. Pacheco had 95 yards last week against the Jaguars. I think he does something similar here. I think he's going to get the football 15 to 17 times. I think he's going to get to around 75 to 80 yards. The reason this prop pays +500 is because those TDs are going to be a little harder to get for him. He's not a go-to guy in the red zone. That is more Jerick McKinnon's area. But if Pacheco can score from 15 yards out, which I think he can, then we get the big payday at +500. But I do think that this reflects the kind of game that I expect to see, or at least I'm hoping to see, which is a more run central game out of the Chiefs. But regardless, these games are going to be fantastic. It's really, if we had gotten to pick our dream Final Four, back in August, I don't think that they would have differed too much from these teams. Even though the Bengals started rough, the 49ers started rough, by the middle of the season, we knew that those two teams were as good as anybody in football, and they have proven that over the last bit. In fact, here are the Super Bowl winning odds for the four teams left. Now, Tommy, these are not my odds, so I know you're rolling your eyes at the 49ers being the last of the four teams.
No eye rolls, but just
Uh,
confusion.
well, I think obviously the Eagles are at home and they are favored to win their game. The Bengals are favored to win their game. So it makes sense that those are the two teams on the top of these four. And then the Chiefs over the 49ers, because we've already seen the Chiefs beat the 49ers. I mean, and how many times in a row now have the Chiefs beaten the 49ers?
Enough
It,
times.
it, it feels like it's all the time. Like I'd have to go back. It's possible the 49ers have never beaten the Chiefs. I'd have to go and double check that. But, but yeah, so if I'm sitting here right now, my pick for the Super Bowl champion is the Philadelphia Eagles. It's the least amount of pay at plus 250, but the odds aren't that different from any of the other teams for me to differ from the Eagles. They are my pick to win the Super Bowl as we head into Championship Sunday.
I mean, I'm with you on that. I think that the Eagles are definitely the favorite, but if I was to pick one team that I think is actually going to win it, I might actually go with the Bengals here.
Yeah, if I was to put money down on this, I'd be putting it down on Cincinnati myself. I just think that they go bring one home. New roof, new trophy. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. All right. Well, we have one final bit of business to do before we sign off, and that is to make our favorite picks of the weekend. Tommy, you are the championship game scoreboard king, so you get to go first. All bets are open. You can pick a money line, you can pick a point spread, you can pick a totals. Do what you will. What is your favorite pick of the week?
Can I pick an over/under?
You absolutely can.
Because if that's the case, I'm picking the over on the Cincy Chiefs game.
Okay, right now it is 46.5,
Yeah.
and you want to go over.
Oh yeah, it's
Okay.
46. I thought it was gonna be 50. That's wild to me.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, give
I,
me the over there.
my guess is that it's going to go up. I think the reason it opened low is because of the injury to Mahomes. But as he continues to look okay, I think we will see that number go up. So you
Yeah,
are
put that
locked
money down
in.
now, fellas.
You are locked in at 46.5. All right.
Easy money.
Ben, your pick of the week.
I am going to be locking down the money line of the one team that we all know is going to definitely win this weekend, the Philadelphia Eagles, at minus 145.
Eagles minus 145 for Ben. Well, I am going to go plus money and take the Chiefs money line at plus 105 because I think by the time the game rolls around, that will be back into negative numbers because that spread. I wouldn't be surprised if that game is a pick 'em by the time kickoff rolls around. So,
Oh, when he's warming up, oh, it's going to be flipped. We're going to be getting Cincinnati and plus money by warm-ups.
so what you're saying is if you want to bet the Bengals, wait until about 5 minutes before the game starts.
Yes.
If you want to bet the Chiefs, do it now.
Yeah,
This is
Yes.
go hedge yourself. Go hedge yourself. I'm sure
yeah.
you can probably do it without the lines are going to flop here.
You can get in where you might win both bets. I like it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, guys. That is our show. Thank you for tuning in. We will be, even though there's no football next week. Well, there's the Pro Bowl games. We are going to be here because we are going to do an awards show. MVP, Offensive Player of the Year, Rookies of the Year, Coach of the Year. We're going to talk about where those betting odds were back in August, where they are now, and who we think will win the awards, who we think should win the awards. So we're going to do a full awards show next week, do a little bit of a preview of the Super Bowl. But that will be in 2 weeks when we do our Super Bowl extravaganza. But thank you so much for tuning in this week, the last 20 weeks, the next couple of weeks. Thank you to our sponsors, the Sports 2.0 network of Noop Sports, uswager.com or usawager.com, I should say, not just US Wager. They have the America in there as well. And thank you to my illustrious co-hosts, Ben O'Connell in Chicago, Illinois, Tommy Birch in Springfield, Massachusetts. I am Kyle Garlett in Denver, Colorado. And guys, before as we say goodbye, the Fly Eagles Fly theme song, as done by the Philadelphia Philharmonic. Happy betting, everybody.
Broncos country, don't show
All
up
right.
next week. None of us are going to be on that list. It's a good episode to skip.
All right. Good night, everybody.